Hi, I'm Diane Denbaum.
And I'm Lewis Denbaum.
We are relationship success coaches. We are the co-authors of the book Madly in Love Forever, A Guide to True and Lasting Love. In this book, we share our journey, the journey from the pain and devastation of divorce, we both had children, to the joy of finding love again. And we wrote this book because we wanted to share it so that it can happen for others out there. I welcome and I thank you for being on this Telesummit. I welcome your pain, your frustration, your anger, your resignation, your level of depression. I also welcome the part of you that says, maybe there is love again. That hope that you have. That willingness to maybe try something new. I welcome your heart to this call.
We're going to be talking about 4 topics that can help you in your recovery and moving on to being madly in love forever again. The first is owning your story and x-raying your relationship baggage. The second is tips for increasing your self-love. The third is looking at forgiveness, and the fourth is looking at gratitude. So join us. In a breakup, or after a breakup, there are stages of grieving that we all have to go through. 5 stages: denial, anger, guilt, depression, and then finally acceptance. In our coaching practice, we help people move through these stages with more grace and more quickly, but we all have to go through them.
For sure.
One of the most important aspects is something we call owning your story. Diane and I live in a very small town called Fairfield, Iowa, with 10,000 people in the middle of the United States. Fairfield, Iowa. And in Fairfield, Iowa, going through a breakup, everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows everyone else's business. I learned something very important from a friend. He said there are 3 things: his story, her story, and the truth. This is really important because we all tell ourselves a story about what is going on. Oh, she's not interested in saving the marriage. She's cutting out on me. She doesn't want to work on it. That's the story I was telling myself. And I would tell other people that story. And before I know it, people are coming up to me and telling me, yeah, I heard, oh, that's terrible, isn't it? And so what that does is that keeps me stuck in the story. And it's almost like I'm typecasting myself into the role of the poor victim. So, owning the story means looking at what's going on and recognizing that you can tell a different story. When you can tell a different story, you can empower yourself. You can get out of the victim mode and recreate. We really enjoy the work of Byron Katie, and she calls it The Work. And you can find out more about her at www.thework.com. Byron Katie asks you to ask yourself 4 questions. Is it true? Can you absolutely know that it's true? How do you react when you tell yourself that story? And who would you be without that story? And then you can turn it around. So, my wife should love me more. The turnaround for that is, I should love my wife more. Well, my wife shouldn't love me more. So this is a technique for examining your story and figuring out that it is just your story and you can tell a different story. When you tell yourself a different story and you can move into empowerment, then you can move forward into a new, more loving relationship. Now, we've all heard the term baggage, right? Baggage is what we take with us from one relationship to the next. It's as if we're wearing a backpack on our back with all our stuff. And we've got good stuff and we've got bad stuff. So my good stuff might mean that I'm compassionate, I'm kind, I'm focused, I'm a good listener. My bad stuff might mean I'm impatient, I'm critical, I get angry easily, I don't like to apologize. Those can be the baggage that's not good that I have in my backpack. So we call this process of examining the backpack X-raying your baggage, like you're going through security at an airport. And the way we recommend that you do that is to look at 20 of your most significant relationships throughout the course of your life. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, ex-husbands and ex-wives, lovers, friends, teachers. And come up with what really worked in those relationships. And what works is what you want to bring forward. That's the good baggage that you want to take forward. Then what didn't work? And you have to really be brutally honest with yourself. And I know that might not feel good. But the point is, by being brutally honest with yourself, you don't have to live with that baggage anymore. And you don't have to repeat the same mistake you made in other relationships. For me, I had 2 ex-wives that told me that I was controlling. And I never really looked at that because I'm a nice man. I like to help people. I'm helpful. That was the story that I told myself. But when I decided to date again and I realized, okay, do I want to have a 3rd failed marriage? No. I have to look at what's in the backpack. And I looked at controlling. And I finally understood that what I saw as helpful, others were seeing as controlling. So, Diane, did you look at any baggage? What did you find?
Nothing.
Nothing! I know. That's why I married her. She's the perfect woman.
When I x-rayed my baggage, the main thing that I found, again, looking at those 20 relationships, was, you commonly hear, I think, pleaser energy. Not having enough boundaries, just too many yeses, too many times, to too many people. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't work. So I think that the main thing I looked at and what I didn't want to bring to my marriage with Lewis, the next relationship, I've been married once before, was I'm going to have boundaries and I'm going to just make it a-okay to say no.
Honey, couldn't you have brought some of that pleaser energy to our marriage?
No.
So looking at your baggage is really, really important so that we don't create insanity. You've heard that. Doing the same thing over and over again and creating and expecting a different result. So look at your baggage, keep the good, and dispense with the bad. And you can create a new type of relationship going forward.
And the main point, get into action and figure this out for yourself. Divorcing or breaking up is a life-changing experience. Divorce and breakup can create absolute havoc with our self-esteem and our self-love. This is the section where I'm going to give you 5 tips that worked for me to help you move through this time of devastation for yourself, at whatever level that is. What I love about this section in my tips are that you're in control of this. There is actually something you can do about the situation that you're in. Let's face it, there's a lot of things we do not have control of. But getting your self-love, your feeling of good self-esteem back is something that you can do. So here are my 5 tips. Again, the ones that I liked and worked for me. The first tip is self-care. What I mean by self-care is actually every day, what is it that you can do for yourself that'll make you feel nurtured? You take care of you. That could be anything from rubbing a luscious foot cream on your feet, perhaps a facial, perhaps just going outside and letting the sun be on your face. It could be a full day at a spa. But each day, nurture yourself. Do something that makes you feel good. Tip number 2, laugh. Yes, laugh. Even while you're in pain, or if you're in pain. And you may have to force this tip a little bit. I get that. I know I did when I first heard laugh in the middle of heartache.
That's the funniest tip I've ever heard, honey.
How to do this? Take advantage of YouTube. Search on YouTube for a 2 or 3 minute clip that makes you laugh. And I don't care if you watch it every day for 6 months. Maybe because you're feeling heavy-hearted, you're tending to be attracted to heavy-hearted things on the TV or movies. Make a switch. Try to get a comedy. So do what you can to get some laughter in your day. And if you really want to see why this tip works, search the healing power of laughter, and you might be motivated. Tip number 3 is what I call rest. Believe me, no one knows more than you how busy life is. So here's what I mean by rest. 2 things. The first is, throughout your day, it kind of ties in with nurturing. Be sure to just stop. You might work in an office where, can you just lay down with your feet up and put maybe a nice herbal press on your head, even for a minute? You're better off resting 8 times a day for a minute than nothing, or trying to fit big, long chunks of rest periods in your day. The second part of this rest tip is, I learned from Ayurveda, an ancient Indian healing system, that the most powerful hours for sleep and for healing of physiology, and particularly if it's been through any kind of trauma, which divorce and breakup is, that the hours between 10 p.m. and midnight are extremely healing. So I suggest try getting to bed by 10 p.m. and see what happens. So rest. Those are my rest tips. The 4th tip is play. You may have your exercise routine, and I get that. I say play because I suggest get involved with other people. Have a game night. Attend a game night once a week. Join a team at your local rec center. At the level at which you play, whether it be volleyball, racquetball, volleyball, join a team. If it's summer, outside activities. And the other one, it's sort of an exercise too, but dance. Go dancing. Ballroom dancing, country music dancing. There's all kinds of dancing out there because it's more playful. Play. Oh, my last tip on that one. I had young children when I was going through pain and divorce. And being around children really lightened my heart. Oh gosh, they just make you laugh at the most spontaneous moments. So play and laugh with your own children, or go find where there are children. I find that a very valuable tip, and it worked for me. The last one is affirmations. Lewis and I both, when we met, shared how the power of affirmations helped transform all this negative self-talk we had about ourselves to more positive self-talk. We found this idea of using affirmations so powerful that together, Lewis and I have created an audio recording of 50 relationship affirmations. We we explain what affirmations are to you, and there's beautiful background music that was created just for this purpose. Here's the great news. When you signed up for this Telesummit, you receive this audio recording as a free gift from Madly in Love Forever.
You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. The Buddha. An essential ingredient in healing from a breakup is forgiveness. Anger stored in our system creates toxins and will not allow us to heal as quickly. I'd like to tell you a story about growing up in New York City. New York has a lot of highways and a lot of people driving cars on those highways. And needless to say, people aren't always as courteous as they should be when driving. One day I was driving on the Long Island Expressway. They call it the longest parking lot in the world. And someone cut me off. And I got angry. I was really angry. I was riled. And of course, he speeds away. And I first wanted to catch up to him and tell him what I thought through the window, if you get my drift. But I didn't want to drive recklessly like he was driving, and there were a lot of cars at this point in front of me. So I just continued to drive, and I was just filling myself with toxic emotions. You know, I wish I could get him. I hope he gets into an accident. All kinds of negative thoughts while driving. About a half hour later, it dawned on me. He's somewhere 10, 15 miles ahead of me, probably listening to music, having a great drive, and maybe even cutting other people off. He's oblivious to me sitting in my car with my anger. So if I should just forgive his inconsiderate driving, then I can enjoy my drive. And I can turn on some music and have a decent drive. So forgiveness, I realized, is not about the other person. Forgiveness is about me. Forgiving is for yourself, not for the other person. In a breakup, there needs to be forgiveness. There are three things that I look at, three types of forgiveness. One is forgiving the other person. And that you can do by yourself. You don't have to go to the other person, and you don't have to wait for them to come to you. You can just think about what happened and say, you know, he or she did the best they could under the circumstances. And I forgive them so that I can move on. The other type of forgiveness I look at is forgiving myself. We talked before about blaming and owning your own story. Well, in my breakups, there was something that I did wrong. And again, I don't necessarily have to go to the other person, but I can just say to myself, you know, I did the best I can. I regret some of the things that I did. I forgive myself. And stop beating up on yourself. I had to stop beating up on myself. So that's another type of forgiveness. And we have control over those two types of forgiveness. I can always choose to forgive the other person, and I can always choose to forgive myself. The other type of forgiveness is if I go and ask the other person to forgive me. Now, I can choose to do that at any time. What I don't have control over is what their response is. My suggestion is, think about the things that you regret, ask the other person for forgiveness, and then just let go. Don't have any expectation about what their response will be. We want to give you an exercise to do now. When we work with clients in our coaching practice, we have several different types of exercises we give to clients for forgiveness. This one you may have heard of. It's very simple. It's called the Ho'oponopono from the ancient Hawaiian tradition. Now, in the ancient times, This ceremony was done by a priest for family reconciliation. In the last 50 years or so, it has become something that's been used by everyday people. And it's very simple. Think of a situation that's unresolved in your life. You can think of your last partner or anything that is unresolved, that's causing you anger and frustration. The Ho'oponopono has 4 sentences. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So now let's do this together for about a minute and check in and see how you're feeling about this unresolved situation on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being very good about the situation, 1 being your angriest. Okay, so have that in mind. Think of that situation, and now let's begin together. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So now, check in again. How do you feel after just doing that for about a minute? Better, I hope. You can do the Ho'oponopono several times a day. And do it, I suggest, on that one situation for a while, until you start, when you check in, to say, wow, I'm down from a 10 to a 3 or a 2, or until you get to a 1. And then start using it in any kind of situation where you feel unrest, unsettled. And I think what you'll see is some forgiveness will start to develop. The main thing that we want you to understand in this area of forgiveness, forgiveness is not easy. Believe me, I know it took me a long, long time to forgive certain people in my life. But when I did, again, I realized the forgiveness was not about them. The forgiveness was for me. So practice forgiveness for yourself so that you can heal and move on. And by the way, forgiveness is something that will serve you well, not only in this healing process now after a breakup, but it'll serve you well in your next relationship also.
If the only prayer we say is thank you, that would suffice. Being grateful, expressing gratitude, has miraculous healing power. That is what we're going to talk about in this section, the healing power of gratitude. Lewis and I know what it's like to go through a divorce, a breakup, arguing, lack of good communication, and you just feel like you're spiraling into depression, anger, and sadness. And you wonder, is there any way off this hamster wheel? Well, tonight we're going to tell you how expressing gratitude can get you off that hamster wheel. And I have a story tonight about Lewis. I found this a fascinating story that he shared with me when I was getting to know him. He went through a 3-year breakup period. You know, the divorce took about 3 years. He was fortunate enough to live near a lovely wooded area. So to help him with his sadness and depression and anger, he walked. Now, we all know walking's good for your body, but he actually found it settled his mind. Most of the time, he would spend his time mulling over what wasn't going right. One day, spontaneously, thoughts of gratitude began to pop into his mind. Things like, I'm thankful for the arms and legs I have so I can walk through these woods. I'm grateful for my ears. I love the sound of that cow mooing in the farm next door. I'm grateful that I have children. I'm grateful I can breathe. I am thankful for the men in my men's group. I'm thankful I get to play racquetball twice a week. You see the idea? Now the biggest thing here is that Lewis said, or noticed, well, of course exercise is good, and it did make him feel better. But this gratitude that came spontaneously elevated him to an even higher level. He's a curious soul, and so he thought, is it really that? So when he set off on his journey the next day for his walk, he set an intention. He just walked along, and then he said, okay, right now I'm going to start to think grateful thoughts, as we like to call them. And it's true. Okay, it's not rocket science experiment here, but it was true for him that he was able to feel a tad different, which is better than not feeling a tad different or happier. We're going to do something now. I'd like you to, it's going to take a minute, okay, I'll mind the time. What you'll need, if possible, I have no idea where you all are, you'll need a pen and paper, or if you can just walk around, don't go far in your little phone, computer area, wherever you are, or if it's impossible, then you can mentally think this exercise. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to write or walk and think grateful thoughts, or just think the grateful thoughts. So begin, and I'll tell you when a minute is up. How are you feeling now? If it's a tad better, then some healing is going on. And remember, this healing came from being grateful, for saying thank you. Being grateful releases endorphins, the happy drugs, natural happy drugs. Expressing gratitude releases stress. It relieves anger. It relieves frustration. It's quite miraculous. Being grateful opens your heart. Being grateful makes you feel kinder, more generous. It has a contagious effect. I suggest, I know it's Valentine's Day in a lot of places, and I suggest to help you get through whatever it is you're getting through at this time of year, have a gratitude Valentine's Day. Look in the mirror. Tell yourself what you love about you and what you're grateful for. Send emails, send cards, tweet people. Just make it a day of gratitude, a day to open your heart. Being grateful, expressing gratitude has miraculous healing power. Get into action and express gratitude. Thank you everyone for being with us. Thank you Carol Page for organizing this incredible telesummit and for including us in on it. We're honored.
We've covered the 4 areas of owning your story and x-raying your baggage, increasing self-love, forgiving, and being grateful. We hope that these will help you in your journey. We also would encourage you, of course, to read our book, Madly in Love Forever. And secondly, we have a telesummit, an 8-week telesummit coming up. It starts March 6th. All of the information is on the Get Set for Love page, and you, as viewers of this telesummit, will receive a 20% discount by putting in the code Get Set for Love. So we look forward to continuing this journey with you on our March 6th telesummit. And the most important thing that we talked about tonight is get into action!